Hey Victoria, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Can we talk about what we did last week?
Yeah, our team actually went on a field trip to the Capitol. We were in Austin to hear a bill that got sent to committee. This was Senate Joint Resolution 1.
Michael, two things. Can you give us a refresher on what the purpose of a committee is and also who is in the committee?
Yes, the committee essentially filters out bills to be heard on so that they can decide whether or not the entire Senate is going to hear and vote on the bill. This was the Criminal Justice Committee, so they're going to hear everything related to criminal justice. There were a couple of senators who are on this committee. Someone of interest for us is actually Senator Joey Hinojosa, Democrat out of Hidalgo. He's on the committee. So while we were there, we actually went to go testify. There were a number of organizations and people who were invited by the senators to give testimony on behalf of these bills. Again, Senate Joint Resolution 1, which is the bill that we're talking about, it was one of many bills that were being heard on. For us, this bill is really important because one of the things that it's doing is it's actually bypassing due process. Bail is something that is given to people as an opportunity to essentially wait to see if they are actually going to be convicted of a crime, right? So if you are accused of a felony in this bill and you are undocumented or a non-citizen, you would be denied bail.
So when we went to go testify, what happened? Could you tell us a little bit about who was there and who else testified?
Some of the organizations who were there were orgs like Crime Stoppers. You also had ACLU, TCRP, Lone Star Defenders. A big issue for us was that this bill is really general in who it's targeting. So even though it's worded to penalize folks who are undocumented, again, because of its specific language, more than just undocumented people would be denied bail under this bill.
So who else would be impacted?
From our analysis, it wouldn't just be undocumented folks. We are talking about legal permanent residents, folks who are green card holders, even potentially someone who has become a naturalized citizen after a long period of time. They would technically be targeted by this bill and denied bail if they were accused of a felony.
Okay, so all these folks went up to testify. Did it pass or did it sway any senators?
Testimony went on for a really long time. When we were all finished, they had recess. Senators came back to do a final vote. All the senators who were present for this committee voted in favor of Senate Joint Resolution 1.
So what's next for the bill?
It actually went to the entire Senate floor this week, and they also voted in favor of passing the Senate Joint Resolution 1.
Okay.
So now it's on its way to the House.
What can we expect once it reaches the House?
Well, right now I'm not so sure. We need to gauge what folks are thinking about on the House rep side. We know that there are a couple of Valley reps who maybe have more questions about the impact of the bill and its wording, or just in general what it's doing, right? Again, denying due process. We're just going to have to wait and see. Victoria, on other news, we finally have House assignments.
Yeah, we finally got House assignments for committees and subcommittees.
What are things to note?
We have folks all over the place. In House District 31, we have Rep. Ryan Guillen in the chair of Agriculture and Livestock Committees. And since he's Republican, he can chair this committee. I would also like to add that a lot of our reps are in this committee.
Okay.
So we also have from House District 36, Sergio Munoz, House District 37, Rep. Janie Lopez, and from House District 41, Rep. Bobby Guerra, who is the vice chair of this committee.
And from what I remember about the new House rules, the majority party, like you said, can chair the committees. So that's why we have Ryan Guillen, who is chairing this Agriculture and Livestock Committee, and Rep. Bobby Guerra, who's a Democrat. He can actually be the vice chair because the minority party is now vice chairing all these committees.
Right.
Okay.
So there are other committee leadership roles from our Valley reps. We have from District 39, Rep. Armando Martinez, a Democrat, who is the vice chair of Natural Resources. And we also have, out of District 35, Rep. Oscar Longoria, Democrat, who is the chair of the Workforce Subcommittee.
Victoria, what is a subcommittee and why is a Democrat the chair?
So a subcommittee is a smaller unit within the standing committees that focus on particular aspects of the committee's broader jurisdiction. And the language of the new House rules is only specific to committees. As we mentioned in a previous episode, chairs must be from the majority party, which in this case is Republicans, while vice chairs must be from the minority party. So that is the Democrats. Another difference is that now the Speaker, Dustin Burrows, appoints the chair and vice chair, but it doesn't say anything about who can chair subcommittees.
So long as Dustin Burrows, Speaker of the House, assigns the role.
Right.
Okay.
We also have Terry Canales from District 40, who is the chair of the Transportation Funding Subcommittee. And again, he's Democrat, but he's still allowed to chair.
Because it's a subcommittee.
Because it's a subcommittee, yes. Now we have all our reps and committees and subcommittees helping do deep dives on these bills to see if they're worth voting out of the committee and onto the House floor. So now let's talk about some of the House bills that we've been tracking. Michael, what are some that have caught your attention?
There are a few bills that I think are really interesting. We have House Bill 2088, who the author is Rep. Martinez. The bill would actually create or establish a public law school in the Rio Grande Valley.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, people have been talking about it forever. I mean, we just got football, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, it starts this year.
Yeah, so we're moving in a good direction.
Yeah.
We also have House Bill 2095. This was also authored by Rep. Martinez, relating to the prosecution of the criminal offense of reckless discharge of a firearm in certain municipalities and counties.
Okay.
Basically, if you hear people shooting guns in your neighborhood at night or at parties, which I'm sure a lot of people have here in the Valley, this bill would make it so that there's more mechanisms to prosecute and charge people for doing that. We also have House Bill 2731. This one is authored by our Rep. Munoz, relating to the regulation of roadside vendors and solicitors in certain counties.
So what does this House bill do?
So there was already a law that regulated roadside vendors and solicitors in the counties. What this bill does, it's really just an amendment to an existing bill. And the specific amendment that happens that we care about is that it reduces the threshold for which counties are allowed to be regulated for these vendors. Originally, you needed to have a population of 1.3 million in order for you to fall under this bill. Rep. Munoz reduced that number to 500,000, which effectively would mean Hidalgo would be impacted by this bill. Additionally, this bill targets unincorporated areas. When I say unincorporated area, think colonias. It would essentially regulate the types of vendors who are selling things in colonias. This would include food or merchandise and even live animals.
So when you say live animals, do you mean like cows and sheep and goats?
No. So the bill specifically does not consider the sale of livestock. I actually don't know how they're defining livestock, but I will say that I have seen a bunch of vendors in the Mission area who sell puppies or chickens or things like that. And I think this is who the bill is trying to regulate. Victoria, how do you feel about this bill?
I think that if they were just trying to target live animals, then they should have just said live animals, but they're including street vendors. Kind of gives off what LA did with banning food vendors and street vendors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel that this bill could potentially do something similar.
Shifting gears a little bit, Victoria, you seemed really excited about some of the bills that you were tracking. Could you please share with us what you've seen?
Yes. So I would like to title this Shrimpgate. So we have our first bill, HB 735, that was authored by Rep. Janie Lopez and Rep. Oscar Longoria. And this is labeling requirements of meat, poultry, shrimp, and other related food products.
Okay.
So this is just the first bill. These two House reps also authored two more bills that were specific to shrimp. So we have HB 749, and this requires restaurants to provide notice when they're serving shrimp that's imported from outside of the United States.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
Right. And then we also have HB 2343, and this was filed this month, which is crazy to me that we have another bill about shrimp. And this bill creates certain prohibitions on purchasing and serving certain types of shrimp.
What do you mean?
So they don't want imported shrimp served at state agencies or at schools.
What?
I don't know if it's supposed to protect shrimp harvesters in Texas or if it's because someone has an allergy, which is a good thing to have labeled. I just cannot find that in the language of the bill.
So they're getting hyper specific about imported shrimp. What are we missing here?
I'm not entirely sure. They have something against imported shrimp, I guess, but we'll have to keep investigating. I'll have to call Janie Lopez's office and get more information.
That's Victoria on Shrimpgate. Victoria, this has happened to us before where as we're recording this, we get word that something big has just happened. So this morning, actually, while we were recording, we found out that the Texas House has just created its own version of an education savings account bill. This is a throwback to our previous episode about the education savings account, aka school choice, aka school voucher. Under this new bill, participating families would qualify to get 85% of the amount that the state gives public schools, plus the amount collected by local school districts for each attending student.
What does that mean?
I'm going to be really honest. I'm not sure. But Dustin Burrows, Speaker of the House, author of this bill, recently said,
and I'm proud to say the votes are there to do this in the Texas House.
Jinx.
Yeah, and we're going to spend a little bit more time unpacking this bill. We'll read through the language, and I think we're going to have to record something else for this just so that folks can get a good understanding of what this bill is actually doing. But for now, Victoria, thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here too, Michael. You can catch the 140-Day podcast on our website at lupanet.org, on YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X at lupe_RGB and our Facebook at La Unión del Voluntario.